Okay, hi Capricorns, and welcome to your October 2021 General Tarot Forecast. This is Sky, coming on to talk to you about the month ahead. I hope that you're doing really well, Capricorns. Let's have a nice coming together and nice little conversation about the energy coming in for your month. Okay, so as I've been meditating on your energy today, I kind of feel like you're long overdue for a easier time, or you're long overdue to just kind of know what new dimension you want your life to fulfill. There's some pretty tiresome stuff coming up this month if we are forcing ourselves to fall into a previous box, or if we're forcing ourselves to fall into some kind of sad philosophy that we have maybe relied on motivating us before. So, big philosophical change coming in the month of October for Capricorn. And I think that it's really translating into the physical world and into your work ethic. So, I'm sensing that there's a change in work ethic here. And it kind of looks like you've got a little bit too much on your plate. I mean, that 9 and 10 of swords, 9 and 10 of wands just seems to not really be letting up for you this year. And both of those cards are very much what I have felt with this year, as you guys have probably heard me say before. 10 of Wands especially, I've associated with the 2021 year cycle, but 9 of Wands as well. Because it's about hard work, it's about labor, it's about being on sort of the last step of a certain project or goal and kind of wanting to give up, but knowing that you can't if you want to not have your previous work go to waste, So I kind of feel like that's where a lot of you are at. You're like, okay, I can't stop now. I can't derail my momentum now, but this is too hard, okay, is where a lot of Capricorns are. It's not every Capricorn, but I kind of feel like a lot of you are facing Mount Everest alone. I kind of feel like a lot of you think that that's right for you, or think that that's just the way that you want it to be. And I think that there's got to be a calming down through the month of October. And by the end of the month, I think that you're going to see, okay, this can go one of two ways. Either I can have like the devil archetype with this work ethic, or I can have the sun archetype. And, which way do I want this to go? You are full of new ideas this month. You are very responsible as well, very maybe obligated to a degree. It seems like you might be responsible for something that you didn't know, or you might be trying to be a breadwinner for other people, as Capricorns very often are that. But I mean, right as I'm getting into the energy again, I feel like you've got a lot of chances to make things easier on yourself. I think that you've got a lot of opportunity here to make a few adjustments, okay? And maybe they're not life altering. Maybe they're not like a total change in industry or a total change in field, or like the quitting of a job. But I think that you can really get it easier on yourself at this time by making slight renovations, okay? With so much Wands energy, Ace of Wands and 10 of Wands coming up in the same reading, you're having like the whole span. Wands relates to power, desire, how we get the motivation or fuel to do our work, to do our goals, do all that kind of stuff. That's what the Wands suit is all about, the fire element. So there's a very concise kind of, I might want to say, portal here for you to have a different type of fuel, or a different type of power mechanism, a different type of sort of energetic grid of how you set out or find yourself capable to do what it is that you're trying to do. And again, I keep hearing Mount Everest. It's like these really big things. It seems like a lot of you are taking on very ambitious projects, or are working harder than you ever have, and you might kind of be able to prolong it a little bit. I mean, if some of you know that it has to happen, maybe it's about working with that timeline that we've been talking a lot about on this channel, from now until like February 2022. How can you get things really easier by then? And do you want what you have now? Do you want it? Do you want the type of investment that you have now? Do you want the type of schedule for labor that you have now? It feels like you will, even right here in October, by the middle half of the month, it feels, when your planet Saturn is going direct as well, or getting ready to, you're going to have the chance to have a lot more easy momentum instead of feeling like you're pushing up against a wall, because I'm kind of feeling that for you guys. Other intuitive messages before we get into the week to week. It feels like you got to let stuff breathe. It feels like you're holding too tightly onto something. You're grasping something too much. Four of Pentacles coming up, the Devil. There's maybe a security habit here. What do I mean by that? It's like, okay, this job is providing me just enough to get by and I don't want to threaten that. So I'm going to push myself as hard as I can to keep it going, and I'm not going to stop. But then you kind of see, okay, well, there's at least got to be some kind of adjustment here in the month of October if I want to maintain my well-being. And, if there's no sort of rest in it for you, or if there's no exhale process that you feel is going to be implemented throughout October, maybe just living through the experience of being so productive or of being a bit of a workaholic is enlightening in its own way. Knowing that you have to do it, knowing that you want to do it, knowing that you're getting something on the other side. There is a lot of enlightenment to be found within that process, but I really do think that what you have here energetically, for a lot of Capricorns, not every Capricorn, a lot of Capricorns don't have a super sustainable energetic spectrum right now. So it's good to think about within all of this, like, what are you just dying to not have anyway? It seems like you're like doing it, but a lot of it is kind of a inconvenience in its own way too, but you're not letting yourself let go of it either. So that's kind of can feel a little bit miserable, when we have situations like that. And I would definitely point you to refusal of natural flow, or trying to catalyze every single result with our own hands, and not letting maybe the seasons or the universe really work in tandem as well. Everything has a season. That's important to remember. And maybe this sort of workaholic season for Capricorn makes sense, but you got to also maybe prepare for a much less equal and opposite reaction. And what I'm kind of feeling is that a lot of you, maybe not right now, or maybe not even in 2022, but it's like there's going to come a time where you need to be working harder than you even are now. But it's going to be on something a lot more right. It's like some of you are working on things that you feel are maybe a bridge to what you actually want. And I recommend that you plan to some degree, or work with the natural rhythm of it, to give yourself an easier time to prepare for what you're actually wanting in your life, and to actually be able to use this 10 of Wands, Ace of Wands, Sun energy. That's powerful stuff. That's like super productive, super fueled, motivated stuff. The ability to follow through, the ability to dream big and follow through. I want you to be able to do it when it's actually what you want it for too, so just keep that in mind and think about, how do I want my aspirations to evolve? And do I feel like the current output warrants a sort of bridge building experience to that? Or if you're a Capricorn who's already contributing to that great aspiration, this could be a very rewarding time as well. Okay, so it just kind of depends on what side of it you're on. That's the thing about general readings. It's kind of hard to, really make it resonate for everyone, because we have people on different experiences and in different proximity to their soul purpose, or what they feel to be that. But I will say the entire year cycle of 2021 deals sometimes with like success in the area that's not really soul purpose, and how do we react to that? It's like, wow, this is success, wow, this is great, wow, this is in some ways pretty perfect, but I kind of want something else. But how do I just like push this away and reject what's already going well? That's a very big conundrum that this year cycle is dealing with for a lot of people. And if you're in that place, as I'm feeling the momentum move, I think that it's about, or that the purpose of that, or the higher theme of us being in that place, is like basically proving to ourselves that we can commit. And a lot of us have already done that, and now we don't have to be there anymore. But a lot of us are also going to stretch that out for security purpose far into 2022 and even 2023 for some people. So it's just about like, a lot of it revolves around numbers, I think, for Capricorn. The devil. I also like to call the devil numbers. That's another, if I were to make my tarot deck, that might be what I would call it, but I might call that numbers. So numbers have a big influence on us and a big impact on us. I think that you might be thinking too much about the numbers, and I also think that you might be using them too much as well, and maybe not preparing yourself adequately if you're maybe compensating through spending or compensating even through frugality. There's something within the numbers, I think, that are going to get a lot of light shed on them and a much better relationship to said numbers. I'm talking like, money, time spent, any type of investment, any type of thing dealing with numbers is going to get better for you by the end of the month. But it starts out kind of weird in the beginning of it. So let's talk about the week to week. In the first week of October, you've got that 9 of Wands rooted down by 5 of Pentacles. That's hard work. That's a type of energy combination that shows us what we don't really want to partake in. So I will really prepare you for the first week of October. You might want to already maybe say no to a few things, or you might want to drop a few hours or something if you feel already pretty worried about that time, or start preparing for it ahead of time, because I do feel that that's really busy, and I feel that that's also stressful and maybe too rigidly planned. But I think that it's also going to increase your endurance, and it's going to start making you think about, okay, what other sources of abundance are there in my life that I'm bypassing? 5 of Pentacles is about not knowing that you have something that will help you, not choosing to use actually what you have to some degree, and being in a higher state of need because you're not actually using what is right there for you. So take that into account in the first week. And in the second week, you've got the Ace of Wands rooted down by the 10 of Wands. Okay, so this is interesting to me. This is a full circle kind of, this could be like launching a business for some of you. This could also be starting a new business, kind of an inception and a launch as well. And whether that's business, whether that's a new plan, whether that's a new relationship, it could be any of that, but it's a lot of work. Again, both of these first 2 weeks in October are fiery. They're creative. They're hardworking. They're productive. They are something that can't be done every week of the year, so if you're getting this reading on the other side of October, in September, maybe really prepare for moving with gusto, moving with capability. Okay, I will say you could make a really good business plan or something in the second week, because it's kind of what you need to start, and you also know what you need to fulfill. And a lot of times when people get disconnected from that, they're I just want to start the business and I'll think about fulfilling it later. Or I just want to fulfill this and I'll think about actually officializing it later. You seem to have a good grasp on both of those things coming together. So good ideas, interestingly, in the second week. But will you give yourself the time for ideas and not just work through it? That's my question. Week 3, you've got the 6 of Pentacles rooted down by the 4 of Pentacles. Okay, contracts, obligations, grasping and holding on to things, not wanting to let go of things. What do you own? What do you owe? What do you feel is owed to you? All of these things are going to get maybe written out and decided upon. It's a very legal kind of energy in the third week. It's the Scorpio Libra cusp. Okay, so an idea or a promise or a proposition can be put into writing or put into paper during that time, and it's a good time for that. But also, I would watch it. It's kind of like the energy of negotiation, in layman's terms. I would watch out for any type of greedy negotiations, whether that's people you're dealing with or whether that's you yourself. And it feels like even in relationships, this might be coming in. This is not just business. It feels like Capricorn is in a negotiating place in every state of their life. And, is that if we look to that fourth week, the Devil and the Sun coming up right after that, I feel like this can go one of those two ways. And it's kind of I guess what negotiation does in general. It brings about, a really nice, warm, comforting experience, or it brings about bondage, So you are really forging your own path in the month of October, and how it ends, how it comes to fruition is basically a result of how much you're able to maybe negotiate with yourself about, I'm going to give this much time to it, I'm going to give this much energy, I'm going to give this much money, and can you pull it back a little bit without causing other people problems, or like real problems, like can you conserve a little bit of energy right now? I feel like that's warranted with what's coming up here, because it's not feeling like the process of outputting a lot of this energy, a lot of the stuff that you're outputting during October of 2021 is not feeling like what you've wanted, but it's also feeling like you think you want it. So we almost have to really get a little bit more honest with ourselves about our true wants and let some of these things untie instead of tying them tighter. Does that make sense? Maybe in some cases it's better to let certain negotiations expire than it is to force a result when we're not really positive about the outcome of that result. I think that that's really poignant for you. And fourth week of October, Capricorns, we're already talking about it. It's going to really be a result there. And you get to choose the outcome based on these first 3 weeks and how much you're willing to put into it. How much of your energy do you want to put into these circumstances? Maybe it should be a little bit less. Maybe you should have more for you. Maybe you should have more willingness to adapt or adopt. I'm sorry, not adapt, but you should have more willingness to adopt a certain path that you're passionate about instead of things that just are numbers or papers. Okay, that seems important for Capricorn right now. What do you actually want? Because I think all these wands cards surrounded by these kind of like exhaustive energies, it says to me that you're like, ooh, it sounds so good on paper. Oh, the numbers look so good. But actually creating this and going through all these hoops does not feel like the content of it is not a nice experience. A lot of people are in that. That's a lot of what, Year of the Ox, if we think of like cattle, ox, they are kind of a laboring type of creature and they're used for food production as well. So there's something about productivity and labor this year that can be very austere. And if we're not careful, we can set ourselves up through debt or through bad negotiations or through, even through being like preyed upon by like predatory investors or predatory like negotiators. It's just not a good year for it really, but a lot of people have to, there are sometimes where we have to do these things. I would just give yourself as much flexibility as you can. Anything that is like and of course I can't give legal advice. I can't give any type of advice. This is a general reading, like this depends on the situation, right? The general energy of it to me feels like a better time to kind of either solidify obligations that guarantee a certain freedom or flexibility, or to let very oppressive ones expire and go. That's the best way that I can put it. And I think that could resonate for anybody. Because I think a lot of us psychologically actually can't consciously, because this is another thing about Year of the Ox, the cattle, their consciousness is very, it's like sometimes doesn't catch on to things. Like it's not the smartest. Smart isn't the right word. But it's not a mercurial energy. It's a Venusian energy, right? So it's a receiving energy, the energy of ox, the energy of cattle, whereas we need more mercurial capacity to counteract it, and we need to actually be a little bit sharper about what we're actually involving ourselves in and give ourselves a little bit more clarity instead of just being in like a funk, a haze. So think about like your gut health, Think about like brain fog and things that might be having you signing up for stuff that's just like really a sort of oppressive obligations. Why not? I don't know. Like maybe it's really about getting that good lawyer. Maybe it's about requesting. And again, these are examples from like, I guess the business world. I don't know why that's coming in, but that's Capricorn, right? That's Saturn. Maybe it's about proposing more flexible terms and having that as a sort of regimentation. I don't know. Even that's getting a little bit dangerous in its own ways though. Cause then everything equal and opposite reaction. With that flexibility, sometimes there's like a lapse in quality, but I don't think that's going to be the case with you. Just kind of thinking out loud here, but I do think you need more clarity. I think that I think that Capricorns in general are trapped and overcoming. This month you can overcome these confines, but there's a bit of a feeling of confinement within a game of like numbers or a game of like contracts, a game of thrones, I don't know, that has you not thinking too clearly about who you are and what is actually a nice investment of your life force energy. So let's think more about that and get a little bit more kind to ourselves. So let's talk more about it in the extended reading, Capricorns. We talked for a long time, 20 minutes today on YouTube. So if you want to get weekly tea chats, if you want to get these readings early and ad-free, I definitely recommend that you sign up to the Patreon page. It's really great. I will be looking into a central theme and two supporting themes for your extended reading, and we'll have a nice little chat over there. Come check it out. It'll be linked below and in the center of your screen. Much love, Capricorns. Bye.